Galaxies spinning a heavenly dance. Oh God, all that you are is so overwhelming. And I hear the sound of your voice. All I want is a gentle and thundering noise. Oh God, all that you are is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, captivated by your beauty. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. And God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. Whoa. I know the power of your cross, forgiven and free, forever you'll be my God, and all that you've done is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. You are beautiful, you are beautiful. Oh God, there is no one more beautiful. You are beautiful, God, you are the most beautiful. And you are wonderful, you are wonderful. Oh God, there is no one more wonderful. You are wonderful, God, you are the most wonderful. Yes, you're glorious, Jesus. You are glorious, you are glorious. Oh God, there is no one more glorious. You are glorious, God, you are the most glorious. You're glorious. You're glorious. I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed by you. I see the work of your hands, galaxies spinning a heavenly dance. Oh sound of your voice. All that I want is a gentle and thundering noise. Oh God, all that you are is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, captivated by your beauty. I'm overwhelmed by you. And God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. Whoa. I know the power of your cross, forgiven and free, forever you'll be my God, and all that you've done is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed by you. God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. You are beautiful, you are beautiful. Oh God, there is no one more beautiful. You are beautiful, God, you are the most beautiful. And you are wonderful, you are wonderful. Oh God, there is no one more wonderful. You are wonderful, God, you are the most wonderful. Yes, you're glorious, Jesus. You are glorious, you are glorious. Oh God, there is no one more glorious. You are glorious, God, you are the most glorious. You're glorious. You're glorious. I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed by you. God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. I see the work of your hands, galaxies spinning a heavenly dance. Oh God, all that you are is so overwhelming. And I hear the sound of your voice. All that I want won't cease a gentle and thundering noise. Oh God, all that you are is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, captivated by your beauty. I'm overwhelmed by you. And God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. Whoa. I know the power of your cross, forgiven and free, forever you'll be my God, and all that you've done is so overwhelming. I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed by you. I run into your arms, unashamed because of mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. You are beautiful, you are beautiful. Oh God, there is no one more beautiful. You are beautiful, God, you are the most beautiful. And you are wonderful, you are wonderful. Oh God, there is no one more wonderful. You are wonderful, God, you are the most wonderful. It's your...
All right. I do ask you to be patient with me this morning. I just got out of the hospital at 1. So nothing too crazy, nothing too serious or anything like that. I had a food embolism is what they call it 3 days ago. I got stuck. I was able to clear the blockage, but because of the food embolism, it injured me basically. I didn't penetrate the esophagus or anything like that, but there was swelling. There was a slight bit of that going on, and there is some pain and everything. They weren't able to give me anything for the pain or anything like that, but so I have difficulty swallowing right now. It still goes down and everything. I'm on a liquid diet, so just bear with me if I have to take a break or something like that. If you did not know, I'll go ahead and let you guys know this. There will be another announcement as well. I'm sure, along with many other announcements and everything. Pastor Ray Lloyd passed away. If you don't know who that is, that's okay. If you were here before, he was an interim here for a while, and he was one of my mentors as well. So he did pass away about a week ago, I think. I didn't find out till this morning in the newspaper. So don't feel bad if you didn't know. I didn't even know. But with that, he was 97. He's been preaching for, I lost count. So he did his service, and he was a very godly man, very sound in the word and everything along those lines. So with that being said, we're going to be looking at Psalm 7, 1 through 13 this morning, and we're going to be looking at David asking for justice to be done, and not just for justice to be done, but to have justice done upon him if he has treated his friends and allies inappropriately. Okay? So I'll let you turn. First ones we're going to be going through is Psalm 7, 1 through 5. Those are the first verses we're going to be looking at. Give me a moment to get there. Alrighty. It says, O Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me, lest he tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is mine enemy. Let the enemy persecute my soul, and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth, and lay mine honor in the dust. Okay, so here we have David making his call, right? The first part there, O Lord my God, he's making it personal. He is not only, if you read it, he's not only using God's name, as in Yahweh, at least in the Hebrew, okay? He's making it more personal, Elohim, referring to my God, okay? He's making it as personal as he can possibly get it. He's asking that God intervene, that God bring justice upon his enemies, and David has a lot of enemies. Okay, David is a shepherd. David was not part of the noble line of succession. He was not part of the first line of kings. He was not necessarily royalty, except by God's choice. All right? And while it may seem that, okay, that's how Israel selects their kings, once you are a king, that's not how you see things. At least historically speaking. You can see that through Saul. Saul understands that he's lost God's divine appointment to be king of Israel. Saul does not take that well. Saul tries to kill David multiple times. Right? And David spares Saul's life multiple times. Because it is not his, as he says, it's not my right to kill someone that was anointed by God to be king. When God wants you to pass, you will pass. Far be it from me to do it. So even as his enemy, David does not see Saul as someone he can just kill. All right? So even as he's praying this, even as Saul has been dealt with to an extent, I believe at this point he has been dealt with, but as a king, David is still praying that God takes care of his enemies, not necessarily that he takes care of his enemies himself, or that God shows him how to take care of his enemies, so that he doesn't cross that line. Because a lot of times during David's kingship, he does do what David thinks is best, and it winds up being a complete disaster. So much so that he loses his child because of his decisions. Turns out that's what happens when you commit adultery and murder and decide that it's fine because I'm a king. So, with that, David also uses this to refer or to claim refuge in God. And that is something that we need to do. That is something that all of us need to do one way or another. You have to claim refuge in God, because if you're not claiming refuge in God, you're not really going to have a refuge at all. That's just plain and simple. You can go out, you can face the struggles of life, you can face the struggles of the world all by yourself. You will fall, you will get knocked down, you will get kicked while you are down. There is no grace from the world, there is no mercy from the world. The world does not care how you feel. It is harsh, it is uncaring, and it is cruel. And if you're looking for someone to blame for that, we can blame humanity for that. Sin entered the world when we chose sin. So, God is where mercy is. God is where compassion is. God is where salvation is. So when we look at this, David is claiming refuge in God. That is his safe space, to use the correct term for that. God is the only safe space. And it's not so much that God's going to do every single thing that you want him to. That's not how this works. God will do what God decides to do and what God's design is. That may not be in line with what your design is. That may not be in line with what you want. But it is something that you will have to accept, because it is what is best. All of them that persecute me. Again, we've talked about this. He had a list, starting from Saul. Then he had his wife, who cursed him. That's fun. One of the reasons that was never going to work is because she was the line of Saul. Saul's line was never going to sit on the throne ever again, or any part of his line. You can see how that's an issue. So, when that happened, she didn't like it. We'll put it like that, right? She chastised him for dancing before the Lord. He said he was going to do it anyway. Just a whole list of things after that, right? But he had other enemies besides them. As David's life progressed, even his own children became his enemies at certain points. So much so that his own general took it upon himself to end his child's life because he knew David wouldn't do it. And David wept when he found out that his child had been killed, as any parent would. But these are the types of enemies that David was having to face. That kind of puts things into perspective. For me, at least it did. I've never had to face enemies quite like that, at least in my life. I've had to face enemies that I knew were enemies. I've had to defend myself from enemies that I knew were enemies, that I knew if I let them, they would hurt me or kill me or do things like that. But I've never had to view my wife as an enemy. We've had arguments, sure, but I've never had to view her as an enemy. As of yet, and hopefully never, I've never had to look at my child as an enemy. And I hope and pray that none of you ever have to either. But David did. And some of it was his own making. Then he looks at the iniquity. And when it comes to David, we've already talked about that, right? David, when he addresses God, he's not necessarily shying away from his own iniquity. He's not shying away from the fact that he thinks he's not worthy. He knows he's not worthy. David understands that he is not worthy of talking to God directly. The crazy thing about this, David was a man after God's own heart. But the reason he was that was because he repented. The reason he was a man after God's own heart was because he understood that he was not worthy. And the only reason that he was able to do these things was because God allowed it. Was because there was forgiveness, but was because there was that relationship that was built. And you can see that many, many times throughout the thing. When David, we'll put it like this. This is the best example that I can give. During his adultery with Bathsheba, right? David didn't feel bad when it first happened. He didn't feel bad when he killed Uriah. or had Uriah deliver his own death message, death order, however you want to word it. He didn't feel bad about that. He felt bad when he got caught and came under the accusing. Right? Now, that being said, when all that happened, yes, he felt bad, but then the prophet tells him, hey, because of all this, you're going to lose your child. That's the price. And David mourns. Sackcloth, ashes, throws himself before God, does everything. But when the child actually dies, he gets up and he eats. Cleans himself up, puts clothes on, because there's nothing else he can do. So David understands he's not perfect. David understands he's not worthy. He understands he's messed up. But at this point in time, he understands, or he thinks, and that's one of the reasons he's asking, and in these statements, one of the reasons that he says, if I have done something, then let it be to me what I'm asking of my enemies. Basically, let them defeat me. Let them ride me down into the dirt, basically. Let them destroy me. If I have treated them unjustly, if I have done so to them, let them defeat me. I don't know about you all. I've never really prayed that prayer. Please let my enemies beat me if I've been unjust to them. Can't say that's really crossed my mind. Normally it's God forgive me. But I can't remember the last time I've said let my enemies win if I've been unjust. So at least David had the wherewithal to be like, hey, if I am the bad guy, let me be defeated. Takes a large person to be able to say that. And then it talks about later on, or later in the passages there, lay mine honor in the dust, meaning basically what we just talked about. Let them trample me to dust. Let my honor, let my story, let my legacy be nothing but dust. Because in comparison, let's be honest, in comparison, all of our lives are nothing but dust in comparison to God. We were made from dirt. It's only fair that we return to dirt, as God told Adam. Because you have made this choice, you are going to go back to dirt. You're going to go back to dust. At least that's the fate of your physical body. If you all remember, we were made to live forever. We were not made for death. We were not made to suffer. We were not made to get sick. We were not made to do any of those things. We were not made to sin. We were made to be companions. And for a while we were. God came down and walked in the garden with us. And it was good, and it was happy, and there was peace. And all it took is a couple of words, a couple of sentences. And we decided we knew better. And we can read that and try to defend it and do all of these things. Well, we just wanted to be more like God. Okay. God wasn't asking us to be more like God. Not like that, at least. We say we want to be more like God. What we mean is we wanted to be God. There's a difference. To be more like God is a good thing. To follow the example of God is a good thing. That means you are striving to be sinless. You are striving to do right. You are striving to treat people better. To be God means you want to replace Him. That does not work. There is only one God. And it just so happens the one telling us the lie, the one us the words and telling us the fibs, is the one that failed first of trying to replace God. We were just not grown enough to say no, or to realize. I take that back. We did realize. I fully believe Eve realized. I fully believe Adam realized. Because Eve gets a bad rap. Eve gets a bad rap. Guess what? Eve got tempted by the devil himself. You know who Adam got tempted by? Eve. What does that say about Adam? Ultimately, it comes back down to we just didn't listen, right? Regardless of that, though, in these scriptures here, David is saying, if I've done something wrong, if I have sinned, it's on me. Let me be defeated, right? Then we flip over here to 7:6-9. And it says, Arise, O Lord, in thine anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies. And awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about. For their sakes, therefore, return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness, and according to mine integrity that is in me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just, for the righteous God trieth the hearts and reins. So, again, it is David calling upon God to be the judge. You have to imagine that as he goes about his life, that as he goes about his time as king, as a parent, whatever it may be, right? And I'm sure many of you have experienced this as parents. I've experienced it in a small amount with the 2-year-old that I have. There are times where she can be the best thing in the world. She's always the best thing in the world, but there could be times where she frustrates me to no end. She just won't listen. It doesn't matter what I say. She completely ignores me. And I have a feeling that's God saying, look, how does it feel? No matter what I say, you completely ignore me. Look, doesn't feel great, does it? But beyond that, right? I get to judge what happens. I get to judge if she's in trouble at that point. I get to judge how I take that. God is the only judge that is capable of determining our eternal fate, right? He's the only one. Justice is His, right? So whatever we may think needs to happen, whatever we may want to happen, okay, it may seem right to us, it may seem fair to us, but 9 times out of 10, we don't know what's going on in someone else's life. I'll use this as an example, right? Somebody goes down the street, they rob a store, right? They don't even use a weapon, they just rob a store. I think we all agree that's wrong, yeah? Okay. We don't know why they're robbing the store. We don't know what's going on in their lives to make them rob the store. Maybe somebody forced them to rob that store. Maybe they have somebody at home, and this is the only way feasible in their mind that they can get money. Don't know why that would be the only way they thought they could, but maybe it is. Am I saying that it's not wrong? No, I'm saying it is still wrong. That is still a crime. They should still face punishment for that crime. But if you understand, if you find out what is going on in the background, is that going to change how you view them? For me, it would. I would still want them to be punished. But would I want them to receive the same type of punishment? That depends. at least for me. Now, we look at it like this, and we can say all that. We can say, that's how I feel about that. That's how I see justice, right? You may completely disagree with me. That's okay. You know why? Because neither one of us are technically right. It's up to God. Humanity has its own views on justice. Sometimes we call justice something that is completely tragic. I'll use this as an example. It's a crazy example, but it does drive home the point. Do you know what the Nazis called the gas chambers? Justice. I think we can all pretty much agree that that wasn't justice. But to a group of people, small as it may be, it was. Yeah, it's kind of a shock factor. Yeah, it's kind of something that makes people uncomfortable, but it does drive home that point, doesn't it? So, and it says, arise, lift up thyself. Come on in, folks. Arise, lift thyself up. It's a battle cry for, not just for God. He's not just asking God. It's for Israel as a whole to rise up to face the enemies, right? As David is the anointed king, Israel is expected to follow its anointed king, right? You have rebels who are still loyal to Saul and to Saul's family and to all of that. You have people who are mad at David for ever serving with the Philistines, which he did. Again, Saul, the king at the time, was trying to kill him, so you could kind of see why he did. But you can see where there's a lot of issues going on for David, right? Made some of the not greatest choices, but was what it was. Did what he had to survive. If there's one thing you can say about him, he was a survivor. He knew how to make it. But it's a battle cry. It's a call to arms. It's something to say, fight with me. Fight for me in this case, because God's going to fight enemies and defeat all enemies that we don't even have a chance against. That is the thing. You can act big, you can act bad, you can say you are spiritually mature, you can say all of these things. The fact is, when you come to a spiritual battle, if you do not bring God with you, you will lose. I don't care how big or bad you think you are spiritually. I don't care how strong you think you are spiritually. Without God, you are nothing compared to a demonic force. There's a reason the Scripture says that even the demons and devils in hell know there is a God and tremble. It does not say even the demons and devils in hell know that there is such and such, insert name here, and tremble. They're trembling at your name. They are not trembling at any other human's name. They are trembling at God's name. David understands this. He understands that he can't fight every battle. He can't win every battle. But God can. And if a battle doesn't go David's way, and he's prayed about it, and he's spoken to God about it, and he's done all these things, and he's listened, then perhaps, just maybe, that battle was never supposed to go his way in the first place. And that's hard, but it's something that he has to accept. And when he says awake, he's not, and the book's good about this, because somebody could take this, somebody who wasn't a Christian or somebody who was trying to poke the bear, so to speak, or get you to respond angrily. And you say, see, David's saying awake. He's calling on God to awake, just like in the Old Testament when the prophet called or was poking fun at the prophets of Baal, saying, maybe he's asleep, maybe you should tell him to wake up. It's not what David's doing here. David's not telling God to wake up because he thinks God's asleep or thinks God is not there or anything like that. What he's doing is saying, awake, meaning, God, I would like you to awaken anything and everything in me that, just brings forth justice, or to awaken in me something to show me that if I've done something wrong, something to show me how to do something correctly, those types of things, right? And it does also show something else. It shows that as human beings, I'm sure you've felt it before, just as I have, sometimes when you see somebody do something, right, especially somebody you know is not saved, and you've spoken to them before, you've witnessed to them before, they've turned you away openly, they don't want anything to do with you, they don't want anything to do with your God, and they've told you this. Yes, it hurts, you do not like it, you do not like the feeling. I understand, believe me. They go out and they sin high-handedly, right? If you don't know what that means, is they understand, they know, they've heard the word, they have come close to saying, I don't even care if there is a God. I'm still going to do this. That is called sinning with a high hand, okay? They go out and they do something that is blasphemous almost, if not completely so. And nothing happens, at least right then. And you're sitting there, and you're like, what's going on, God? I'm not saying smite them, but why are they successful? Why does it seem like they're gaining? And I'm just kind of staying here. Or even if I am successful, why does it seem like they're outpacing me like by 10 times? And I'm the one trying to do your will. Are you kind of slow right now, or what are we doing? I'm failing to understand, is basically what David's saying. I know you're awake. I know you're there. I know you are God. I'm not doubting any of that. I'm asking you to explain to me, or to show me just a little bit what is going on, because I'm struggling. It's not God. It's us. And believe me when I say God understands, right? He's had this conversation multiple times throughout the Bible with multiple people. Job comes to mind when God had that conversation with him. Hey, where were you when I hung the stars or done all of these things? Were you there? Because if you were there, you could answer this, right? That's right, you weren't there. Okay. That's not a verbatim quote, by the way. That's the book of Stephen. But it gives you the gist of how that conversation went, right? So when it gets to things like that, this is David, in a modern way of putting it, saying, I don't understand. I know you're God. I know all of this answers to you. I know justice is yours, but why does it seem like they're not experiencing justice? And at that point, you have to look at it and be like, maybe David needed to learn patience, or a little more patience. Because as we've talked about multiple times, not just this morning, but in other situations as well, God's time is not our time. And just because we think something should happen like that, doesn't mean God does. God has all the time in the world. And for us to sit here and think that they will not pay for their sin, when we know for a fact what the Word says, is insanity. And perhaps, if you want to view it this way, which I choose to view it this way, maybe God is giving you another chance to witness to them. Even though they've told you multiple times they want nothing to do with you, they want nothing to do with your God. You know what God does? Sometimes He still knocks. even though we don't deserve it. Sometimes he'll still come back and knock on the door. If you were here a couple of Sundays ago, a couple of Sunday nights ago, preached about Jonah. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. Jonah hated Nineveh. He didn't want to knock on that door. You know why? Because he knew that if they repented, if they did what God wanted them to do, God would be merciful. So sometimes, I would put to you this. Sometimes, after they've told us they don't want anything to do with us, they don't want anything to do with our God, they were downright mean to us, sometimes we've heard that so many times that we think that that's going to be their response, and we just chalk it up to that's going to be their response regardless. And when God tells us, go witness to them again, our response to God is, no, they're going to tell me this. God says, no, go say it again. And then the second time we're like, no. And then we have to go through that whole Jonah thing. But at this point, this is where David is, at least from this right here. He's trying to understand. He's trying to awaken that. He's trying to get something to happen. Whether it be with him, whether it be justice to the enemies, whether it be him being told you need patience, something. Then there at the end, according to my righteousness, according to mine integrity that is in me, right? And that's towards the end of these verses, at least down in 9. And again, that's hearkening back to the whole David had sins of his own, and it wasn't just Bathsheba, it wasn't just Uriah. David did some pretty underhanded things when he was king. He got into the whole season of being lazy, season of not going out and fighting with his soldiers, season of not. He was king. He got fat and happy, to put it mildly, and not in a good way. He became more concerned with worldly things than he did with spiritual things for a time. And it culminated with Bathsheba and Uriah and not feeling bad until a prophet showed up. And even when the prophet showed up and told David, it took David, the prophet, literally saying, "It is you, David." Can you imagine how frustrated that prophet was? Literally laying the story out in the most basic way he possibly could, thinking, this guy's smart. This guy's been in the presence of God his entire life, basically. Surely he will understand, and I won't have to spell it out for him, that it's him, right? Surely he will, God, right? And then it gets to the end of the story, and David's like, tell me who the man is. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. And he's like, okay, it's you. All right, it's you. You're the rich man, David. Yeah. It's one of those moments. It's like, it's you. So again, when you get into a situation, you are praying for your pray for your enemies. That is something that we should do as Christians. You are supposed to do that, right? But when you are in that situation where you're praying for your enemies and you are asking that justice be done and you are asking God for these things, be sure that you are doing what David is doing here and saying, hey, if there is anything in me, if I have done anything recently, because once we are forgiven, right? Okay. That being said, make sure you're covering your basis, because if you are the problem, you want to get that taken care of. If you are the reason that there is discourse, if you are the reason that there is chaos going on, then you want to take care of that, because that is not pleasing to God. That is not something that God wants His children to do. That is not what we are meant to do. The Bible is very clear about that. If you have an odd with your brother, if you have an issue with your brother or your sister, you take that issue to them, you talk to them. If both of you can't figure it out, then you bring a witness. And if all three of you all can't figure it out, then you take it before a couple more if you want to go that route, or you take it before the congregation at that point. Right? You get it settled, though. One way or another, you get it settled. Hopefully, you can handle it before it goes all the way up. If you're both coming together in Christianly love, then there's no reason you can't. That's the plain and simple of it. And carrying on to Psalm chapter 7, 10 through 13. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. This one I understood a lot clearer than most things. I was a soldier. I get this. David is speaking as a soldier here. David fought a lot. David was good at fighting. There's a reason when he killed Goliath, afterwards, the Philistines were okay with him switching sides and joining them. They were okay with that. David was good at fighting. So he says, God is my defense. He understands where his protection is. He understands who has kept him alive through all of these threats. It is not a simple thing to be threatened by a princess. It is not a simple thing to be threatened by your wife, let alone cursed by your wife. David survived it. It is not a simple thing to be hunted by a king who has command of an army. David survived it. And it wasn't just because David was good at hiding or fighting or anything like that. It's because God was protecting him. And he understands that. So he says, God is my defense. Which saveth the upright in heart. Again, not denying that he was a terrible person at times. But at this point in time, when he is writing this, to his knowledge, he has not done anything that would require him to say, I am a terrible person, or ask repentance. So he is saying, who is upright of heart, meaning himself at this point in time. He is saying, God is my defense because I am just in God at this point. Right? So, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. Basically saying, God is angry with the wicked. He is angry with sin. He will fight sin every single day. Notice, when David says this, yes, we can take it to mean David's enemies. Sure. But what this can more apply to today, at least, we don't fight against flesh and blood. Right? We fight against powers and principalities, dark places. Spiritual warfare. Every single day God is fighting for you. And you know what? The fun thing is, battle's already been won. God's already fought that fight. It's done. But you know what we do? We pick fights every single day that we don't have to pick. That doesn't mean that God will not fight those fights for us. He will. But you ever wonder if God is sitting there, it's like, we don't have to do this. We don't have to fight that fight. You don't have to have that struggle today. All you have to do is turn away. All you have to do is listen to me. All you have to do is go the way I'm telling you to, and you don't have to endure this struggle. You know what we do? No, I'm good. I'm going to go this way anyway, God. And we poke the bear. We go and we poke it, and we poke it, and we poke it, and then when it comes after us, We run away and we scream and we run to Dad, which, okay, cool, we run to Dad. At least we know where to run. And then we're like, God, why am I suffering? God, why am I in such turmoil? God, why am I struggling so much? You guys, come on. Why is all this going on? And we're shocked when God's response is, perhaps you didn't listen. Perhaps this is a struggle of your own making. Maybe it's something that you created yourself. Right? And believe me, I'm not saying there will not be difficulties. I'm not saying the devil won't wake up one morning and say, you know what? Going after him today. Going after her today. I'm going to try to destroy their witness today. I'm not saying that won't happen. If you are an effective soldier of God, buckle up. Because the last thing the devil wants is for you to get out and start talking. So yeah, much like was said, we'll use anything and everything to try to distract, try to prevent, try to do anything he possibly can to make sure that you do not go out, you do not witness. And you know what you do then? You pray. You don't fight that fight, you let God fight that fight. So, but this is how David is seeing God. David is seeing God as not just a soldier, but a general, a commander, the commander, right? His sword is ready. If he has to use his sword, it's ready to go. It's sharp. His bow is already bent. His arrows are ready and knocked, basically. And if you don't know what that means, it means they're pulled back and they're ready to go. And that in itself, saying that his bow is bent, I don't know if you've ever pulled a bow back and held it. That takes some strength, especially to hold it. Right? So with that, you can see all that stuff lining up and just how David is seeing this from multiple different angles, but at the very end here, you see him go back to what his base is, right? He's always been a fighter of some kind. When he was a shepherd, he had to protect the flock. He had to fight the animals that came to kill the sheep. He had to fight the bears, the wolves, the lions. He had to do all of that. There's never been a time in David's life where he has not had to fight. Then Samuel shows up and says, I'm going to anoint you king of Israel when the time comes. I'm going to anoint you now, but you will not be king until the time comes. David thinks, okay, being king sounds pretty good. Saul decides, you think you're going to become king? Nope, I'm going to try to kill you. So again, he has to fight, he has to fight, he has to fight. He gets to become king. Everything's fine for a while, right? Then the woman that he married, Saul's daughter, decides, I'm going to curse you. Got to fight that, right? So again, David has never had a moment really to rest. Now granted, after he becomes king, a lot of it, his own fault. A lot of it is his own fault. He made some pretty dumb decisions. As we all have, let's be honest. I'm lucky enough to have a grandmother that tells me, you made some pretty dumb decisions, haven't you? And it's like, yeah, I have, thank you. But it's fair. It's fair. And I'm sure there were people in David's life that told him to. Right? And I'm sure you've had people in your life to tell you when you've made pretty bad decisions and you were thankful for it. And if no one else will, if you pray about it and you ask honestly, God will tell you. Don't be angry when he does, though. Because if you're praying about it and you're asking honestly and you mean it, when he says this was a bad decision, this was a bad decision, this was a dumb decision, he's not doing anything but other than what you've asked him to do. And that's part of protecting you. Because he's hoping that you'll learn. God has no flaws. God absolutely has no flaws. I will never, ever, ever say that God has any flaws. And if you are a parent, you understand this better than anyone. When you look at your child, I do not see this as a flaw. When you look at your child, you hope for the best for them, right? You want them to make the right decisions, right? If you set something in front of them, you desire for them to pick the correct answer, right? So when God gave us free will and He sets something in front of us or puts us in a situation or does something like that, He's wanting us to make the right decision, right? Even if He knows that we're not going to.